Welcome to Interesting Enough. He is Trey. I'm Nolan. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. This is your first time listening to the podcast. Thank you. Trey, man, what's going on? We're going to react to the Super Bowl. Of course, this is on Apple, on Spotify, all that good stuff. We're doing a live reaction, so forgive us if we sound delirious from watching a long game. Forgive us if our reactions are a little bit too knee-jerk, but we at least try to think about it a little bit before we hopped on the pod. But Trey, man, what's going on? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I mean, like you said, that was a great game. You don't want to be having a knee-jerk reaction, but hey, I got a lot I want to say about that game, and particularly one person.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, we got a lot of thoughts on it, and I'm sure we'll get more thoughts as we get going throughout the podcast that was going to come to our mind, and then, of course, like later on in the week and stuff. But we're going to get to the game, because there's a lot to talk about with the game. And, you know, there's a lot of things that we're going to be hearing over the next couple of days. But I want to talk about what the people really care about in our community, and that's the halftime show. I don't. We talked about before the pod. We don't want to delay this to the end of the pod. So if you're tuning in just for that, we're going to give you the reaction. So I had a couple notes while watching the performance. I did want to say, the one thing I will say is, Trey, as far as the selection of Usher, I was very happy with. We talked about this on the podcast. We said, and we were wrong. You and I were both wrong. We thought they wasn't going to give us people we care about after we got the Dr. Dre performance. We were wrong. We were wrong. So what I want to do is I want to apologize and give credit to Jay-Z, because Jay-Z is making these calls, Trey. Jay-Z is making, ever since they put Jay-Z in the helm, we done got Dr. Dre and Snoop. We done got Rihanna. Now we got Usher. So I don't know what Jay-Z got going on, but he's doing something over there pretty well. So I was happy to get Usher. I thought it was maybe, it would be a nostalgic performance. I know for people that are younger, they probably don't listen to Usher anymore. I don't even listen to Usher on a regular basis, but when you hear his tracks, it kind of is what it is. So just give me we're a couple hours out from the performance, so you've had time to digest it as you were watching a whole football game. But what was your overall feeling with the Usher performance? And then we can kind of dive into like specifics.
So to me, at the beginning, for whatever reason, it started out kind of slow. I mean, Usher came out on roller skates or whatnot. But I mean, to me, Usher, as much as I like him, in my perspective, he's not enough to actually carry a whole performance by himself. Not the Super Bowl, at least. Like, he needed some special guests. And I was a little bit concerned. That's why it kind of started off slow for me.
Whoa, wait. Hold on.
Yeah, I know. No, that's a controversial topic. I know. That's a take.
You might need to explain that just a little bit more. You don't think Usher is big enough to headline up? Not headline, because I don't want to mention words. You don't think Usher is enough to control the whole? Actually, Trey, let me actually say this, because this actually.
Well, he brought out hold on. Let me say this.
Okay.
So he brought out his features. That helped a lot. I'm saying Usher by himself.
Right.
I'm not sure. No.
Okay. So that's not actually that crazy of a take that I think about it. But here's what I will say. I actually have a problem with every time we get somebody, and this is not you and I specifically, but just when we, as a society, and like the Twitter and the Twitterverse and social media, when we find out who the performer is, what's the first thing we do, Trey? We find out who the performer is, and we're like, oh, I wonder who they're going to bring out. That's the first thing we say. It doesn't even matter who the person is. So it's like, dang, like, if I'm Usher or somebody else, you're like, dang, I'm not good enough for y'all. Like, I wonder who I'm going to bring out. And we do that universally for whoever it is. So any name that you say, Trey, that would actually, and you haven't said any names, but I'm saying if you were to propose names that can hold the stage by himself, they've all had guests. I would say Rihanna can hold it by herself. But we wouldn't be mad if she had guests. Beyonce had guests. Bruno Mars had guests.
So I think the difference is we know certain people have to have guests. Beyonce and Michael Jackson, I'm just naming out those two names, they're two of the biggest ones off the top of my head. They don't necessarily have to have a guest. So we would just be asking that question out of curiosity with them, but it's not out of necessity. Whereas, let's just say, like last year when they had Dr. Dre, we knew he had to have guests. Like, it's no offense to Dr. Dre and his musical production and what he's done, what he's contributed.
But that's different than Usher, because like he's more of a producer that rapped previously.
Okay, well,
Usher's catalog is way too big. It's not just like he's had a lot of music over the course of time. He has a ton of hits. He can 100%. Let's just say he did this performance. He can 100% have done it without guests. And he may have picked different songs to go for and stuff like that, and then maybe done remember when Prince performed down here like in Miami and stuff, where he performed, like, he didn't perform snippets of songs. Usher was clearly trying to make this like a party. But if he really wanted to, he could have got down there and sang "Burn" and like really did this.
He could have, but I think what I would say is, at least for the Super Bowl audience, you have to try to make sure that you're trying to cater to everyone. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're starting to see more artists that look like us and that we listen to, because they're trying to cater to everyone. Like, you can bring out the Who out there. I know they've done that before, but that doesn't cater to everyone. You can bring out Tim McGraw, but like, only a certain section of people are really going to enjoy that. So I think he had to try to bring out that party element, and he had to bring out Lil Jon and Ludacris, people that were going to bring others into the fray.
Right. I mean, I just don't think he has to, is the problem I have. I don't think he has to, but I'm not going to get held up on it too long. With the performance, I know you say he started off slow. You were texting, we were texting, you liked the way he kind of, I guess, finished out with the middle and towards the end. I mean, so overall, how are you judging this performance? I mean, if you want to compare it, because it's inevitable. I mean, I guess you got to compare it to the performances of the past couple of years. Does it stack up? Does it not? I mean, does it stand alone? Like, again, this is your knee-jerk reaction, so you may feel it a different way in a couple of days, but just, it's only been a couple hours.
Oh, yeah, no. I think it stacks up. I mean, I'm just thinking about last year's performance with Rihanna. Was that 2 years ago? Last year, 2 years ago.
No, Rihanna was last year.
Okay, yeah, last year with Rihanna, and then the year before that, with Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar and etc. To me, I think it's more or less the same. Like, it stacks up relatively well to like a couple past performances we've had. The only thing is, I guess in the back of my mind, I am pessimistic. I'm like, how many more Super Bowls are they going to give us? Because at some point, they're going to go far, far right. Like, we have to be ready. At some point, we're going to get the Rolling Stones, or I don't know, some really out there country singer. Like, it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but also Jay-Z's at the helm. So, you know what I mean? So, if you look at the last couple of years, you had Usher with the crew, Rihanna last year, which she did by herself, which, by the way, you and I both agree, we think Rihanna can hold the stage by herself, and we think she did, but we were also asking at the time if she would bring guests. So, I got to be fair there. And then, of course, you had the Dr. Dre one, and then the year before that was The Weeknd. So, I guess really since 2020 was like, I guess where they try to appeal to everybody. You had Shakira, J-Lo, Bad Bunny, like that crew. And then the year before that was Maroon 5, Travis Scott. So, it's been a while, I guess, since they had that quote unquote, let's call it what it is, like not, black artists, right? Like predominantly, performing at these shows. But so obviously for us, we love it. But, I think also to the consumer, it's a big deal because these are songs that are hits and everyone knows. Now, in terms of the performance with Usher, I do got to say, I like the performance a lot. I love him starting with Caught Up. I thought that was a great song to start with. I heard some people like saying that he should have started with like Yeah and like some of his big songs. Like you can't start a performance like that with like your biggest record. Like, I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, I'm not an A&R, but like this doesn't seem like rocket science here. But like, I mean, like, what are we doing here? But I thought he did well there. I thought he ended with a bang with the Atlanta, with the Lil Jon. And honestly, Trey, my favorite part of it, like if you talk about the most turn, I thought it was turn when Lil Jon came out. I thought that was turn. Like I actually, that was turn. Like just him doing a turn down for what? I just thought that was super turn, and like the way they did it. And then of course my affinity for Alicia Keys. I love the Alicia Keys.
Hey, I love that part. Now I will say this: her voice.
Don't do it.
No, it's something sounded a little bit off when she first started with. As she got more further into the song, I was like, okay, you started.
It sounded like it cracked or something for it. I know what you mean. Like, yeah.
Listen, I'm not no music expert, so I can't tell you, but it's something that didn't sound right to begin with.
But look, it was for a couple of seconds. It got together. Who knows? It could be a technical difficulty thing. Like, we don't know. But for the most part, we got what we wanted. She performed two songs that we all love and care about. She came with a fire, nice, sexy outfit. They performed My Boo. Like I just think that was like great to have Alicia Keys out there. You know what I'm saying? So I was happy about that. So like in terms of if you are going to bring guests, he brings some elite guests out there for sure. And again, I mean, I could sit here and complain about a lot of other things he could have done, but you only have a certain time limit anyway. So it's not like he can just like perform all these songs that I would care about and stuff. It's not my personal concert.
Yeah, he did really good for like a 20-minute time slot.
Yeah, like I said, it's not my personal concert. Do I want to hear Oh My God with Will.i.am? No. But I understand
Can I
people
say
don't
something
listen
real
to
quick?
that.
I thought that was Kanye when he first came out.
Yo, so I've been seeing that on the internet. When you said that, I looked on the internet. People were thinking the same thing. They were like, they really thought that was Kanye coming out
I
there.
really did, and I was like, damn, Usher, you really this bold that you gonna bring out Kanye like this? I'm like, I wonder how this is gonna go over. I really thought that's who that was.
Well, I saw, if I thought it was Kanye, I was like, what? Do they have a record together? Like, I was like thinking in my head. I'm sure they probably do, but not that I could have thought about it at the moment. But yeah, will.i.am, I just thought like I just went back to like middle school or like woke up and I was in middle school for a second, like with the Black Eyed Peas. So, but that was pretty cool. Usher is a great performer, great singer. I thought overall it was an excellent performance. I'm not going to sit here and rate it for a number or anything like that, but I definitely think it stacks up to Rihanna's performance. Whether you think better or worse is, he said, hearsay, but that performance alone with him was really good, but plus that he brought out guests, which Rihanna didn't. That to me matters. Rihanna didn't decided that she wasn't going to bring guests and control the entire stage in the moment, which she did. But I like a little variety. I like a little flavor. I like Usher went from, slower songs to more upbeat songs about Lil Jon. You have her out there. You have Alicia Keys, even Jermaine Dupri to hype up the crowd. I think all of that matters. So it felt like the performance was a party. Or Rihanna's performance felt like I'm just watching Rihanna perform and I'm just, taking it all in, which is great. But I kind of want to party. If I'm watching the Super Bowl, I want to party.
And I will say this, I just want to end on this. I agree with you everything you said. Rihanna's performance might have been more of a party, but you do have to keep in mind that she was pregnant and she didn't appear to be as mobile as she normally would be.
Sure. That's fair. So we could have got differently. I mean, that's super fair. I mean, I don't know if she maybe she probably might have not even been pregnant at the time she agreed to do it. You know what I mean? I guess things could change. So like,
I'd imagine they did ask her like a year out. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's like one of those things for sure. Now, but my last thing on the performance, I thought about actually, we don't predetermine a lot of things we're going to say on the podcast, but I did think about it as I was watching this performance, Trey. I couldn't help but thinking, and I feel like bad to say this, but I was just like, Usher's really killing this performance, singing and dancing. But I'm like, when I think about a guy that can sing and dance with party records, I know he'll never get the opportunity, and I'm not saying that he should. I'm like, wow, what could Chris Brown do on this stage? Like, that's what I thought of. Like, what could Chris Brown do on that stage with the amount of party records he has? Like, that really
he can do a lot of things, but the problem is, and like this is why you said he's not going to get opportunity. Chris Brown has so much baggage, that it just wouldn't work.
Yeah. No. I know you never get the opportunity. This is just like in a fantasy world. You know what I mean? I'm just like if like no baggage. I'm just talking about like just purely based off of their musical talent, singing and dancing, and their catalog.
I was about to say, since Chris Brown, since he's so much younger and still probably in his physical prime, I mean, his dancing up there.
What you trying to say? Usher's moving slow?
I mean, he's moving fast on the skates. He's moving fast on the skates, but listen, Usher he's not in his prime anymore. That much is obvious. But Chris Brown right now, if he was the performer there, I think he would rival Michael Jackson's performance in the 90s.
That's tough.
No, I really do. Michael Jackson had bigger hits. He was more popular, so I think that people would give him the edge. But I think based on pound for pound, just the performance, I think it will rival that.
Honestly, not mad at that because Chris Brown's been known to be an elite performer. But yeah, it's a fantasy land scenario. I know we'll never see it, but
yeah, we don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, I thought the Usher thing was great. We'll drop this so people can comment on that. But let's actually get to the game. 25-22, Chiefs get the win. The game, I would say the outcome was something that we may have expected. How we got there is probably not how we expected it to go. What's your initial thoughts on the game? And listen, let's table the GOAT conversation part because I have some thoughts on that. So we'll leave that part for the last couple minutes of this pod. But just in general, with just the game, main takeaways, is it like the 49ers something that they did wrong, or maybe just the Chiefs taking the bull by the horns, anything like that?
I don't even want to. I'm not going to overcomplicate this. You and I, at least, I don't know if we had a chance in the pod, but at least off the pod, we've talked for a couple of times, and we both admitted that we thought the Chiefs would win. Mm-hmm. And the reason we thought they would win is because of Patrick Mahomes. And I just think that's where you have to start off first. I mean, he just other than that one interception coming out in the third quarter,
Yep.
he had a great game. And I mean, I understand that he has Travis Kelsey, who probably is the greatest tight end to ever play the game. But outside of that, his wideouts, they're not that great, to be honest with you. He just got McCole Hardman halfway through the season. And BS, he's always dropping the ball. Like Cardarius Tony can't even be out there. Like he doesn't have the greatest options. And somehow, some way, I want to say this, not just this Super Bowl, but he went through Miami, then he went through Buffalo, then he went through Baltimore, and then finally the 49ers. I just think that I can't even speak about this one game in the capsule. Like I just have to look at it in totality. I think this was in some crazy way, you almost call it his coming out party. Like this just kind of cemented where he is in the game. But I don't want to overcomplicate it. I just think Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes was going to do.
I agree. I agree 100% with what you said. Mahomes won that football game. I don't take this away and look like, well, the 49ers did this, and that wrong. Of course. Was there things they can take back? They had an unlucky turnover on special teams where the ball just hit a guy. We
Yeah,
see
that's
that happen every
unlucky.
single week in the NFL. That is just unlucky. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a kicker, that got an extra point block that ended up being huge, right? Like so, but kind of unlucky stuff. And yeah, there's some mistakes, but Mahomes went and won this football game, and Andy Reid went and won this football game, scheming things up. And let me just give a shout out to this, Trey. That defense, that Chiefs defense, I think at some point sometimes we have a lot of time in the summer to do all these rankings and stuff that we like to do so much. We're gonna have to talk about how good that defense has been, like historically. Like at least what they did in the postseason. Like what they did in the postseason, Trey. I hear a lot of talk about Sauce Gardner and DJ Reader and all these young corners. There ain't a better corner tandem in the league than them two dudes right there. That's Snead and McDuffie. And we've talked about this too, trade. Like even though they clamped up the Ravens. Like this isn't just like they clamped up in the Super Bowl. Like they clamped up Tyreek Hill. Like you name it. I mean, those corners were just absolutely giving the receivers hell, and it it created a lot of opportunities for them defense to do anything else because they were just playing man to man. They were like, my guy's better than your guy. So I got to give a lot of credit to their defense for really, really showing up. And when Mahomes and them couldn't get much going on offense, they were always able to get stops and get the ball back. Even early on when they were getting gashed by the run with McCaffrey, they even stopped that. And then and I'm gonna make this part simple, and it goes along to what you were saying. The stars of the Chiefs or the Chiefs in general just felt like they always made the play that needed to be made. Like even Chris Jones, Trey, you'd probably say what Chris Jones is probably one of the 4 or 5 best defensive players in the NFL, right? I mean, I think that's like
Easily.
pretty fair. So he didn't get a sack today, but how many times did he make that key third down pressure that forced Brock Purdy to miss a throw? You know what I
Did
mean?
you see
Or
that? Did you see that third down pressure at the end and overtime where
that,
Brock Purdy probably
that's
has a touchdown?
That's a Jawan Jennings. That's Jawan Jennings touchdown if Chris Jones doesn't do that, right? Like, so it's like he made the play. You know what I'm saying? McDuffie, remember on the third down, McDuffie blitzed and then he got the ball tipped. If he doesn't tip that ball, it's a first down. They probably run the clock out, kick a field goal with 3 seconds left. So San Francisco wins Super Bowl. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they always felt like they made a play. Kelsey, quiet in the first half. He had one catch. All we saw him is just screaming at Andy Reid on the sideline. He comes to play and he makes the biggest, I would say the two biggest plays in the offense outside of the actual game winning touchdown was the Kelsey catch and run, right? Like when he actually ran and probably almost scored, and then the run that Mahomes made up the middle for about like 15 yards or so. Like those are the two biggest offensive plays outside of the touchdown. They just feel like they're always making the plays, and we knew they always can make the plays because when we're watching this game, we felt that the 49ers had never had control, even when it was 10-0, when it was 10-3, they had the lead. Like we just never felt like it. And you know who didn't feel like it, Trey? You saw Debo Samuel's face, you saw Brock Purdy's face, and all these guys' face
Well,
when they
Brock
really.
Purdy, hold up. Brock Purdy looked shook. Like he played a great game, but he looked shook the whole game.
And you know why? And I was even thinking about it on the coin toss. I was like, man, if I'm the 49ers, I'd almost rather like let Mahomes get the ball first and then like let it be on me because you already know. And I felt like the pressure mounted in that last drive. I guess we can talk about that. That pressure
But can
mounted
I
in that
interject
last.
real quick?
Mhm.
The reason I thought about it too, but the reason I don't think you do that is because if Patrick Mahomes goes and scores a touchdown, that puts so much pressure on your, I'm not gonna say rookie quarterback, but your second year quarterback that hasn't even played. This is the first full season. I think they just put so much pressure on him. I don't think you want to do that.
Oh no. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that you defer it. I'm just saying like you kind of wish almost like the football gods would just like not let you win the toss. Like you know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
no, you can't go out there looking weak and defer it. Like if you do that, like you no, you can't do that. But I'm saying like in the back of your mind with the I think with the 49ers, that drive where they ended up getting the field goal, didn't it just feel like they were kind of pressing to you? Like they felt like they're like, we have to score a touchdown because they're like, everyone knew. We knew watching it at
Yes.
home. The people knew in the stadium. Taylor Swift knew. Everybody knew. If you kick a field goal, the game is over. We said it in our group chat. If you, it's the game is over if you don't score a touchdown. Like it's over. Like you know what's going to happen when he gets the ball. It doesn't matter what's happened at any point throughout the game. And the only similar feeling trade we've had is not Aaron Rodgers, not even Drew Brees, not even Peyton Manning. As great as those guys are, the only feeling that we've ever had for this is Tom Brady. You
That's
know,
it.
you remember the feeling when you had Tom Brady. You're like, oh, you get the ball back with this timeout, no timeout, whatever. It's over. And that's what the territory Mahomes is already in. But now he's just cementing it and doing it in multiple Super Bowls at this point.
And like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, like you say, it's Tom Brady. And if I had to pick another sport, that's not my favorite player, LeBron James. It's not Steph Curry, who we just saw hit a game winner last night. Funny enough, the only other player that I think you and I seen with our own eyes that gave us that feeling as far as basketball goes is Kobe Bryant. And I say all that to say that Mahomes is getting in that rare territory where he's just sitting with the greats of any sport. Period.
So you would compare him more to Kobe than
Well,
because
I'm
I
just saying
know.
that feeling of if you get him the ball,
Okay.
just kiss it goodbye. You messed up.
Yeah, for real. I can agree with that for sure because like we just knew even that fourth down, I wasn't even nervous on the fourth down and one. I'm like, they're gonna get a yard.
But
Like
I
they're
just
just
thought they were going to stop. I'm like, oh, okay, this is their chance, 4th and 1. And then you remember, oh, damn, he can run. I mean, he doesn't run, but he actually can if he wants to.
right. And they were just like, why do we overcomplicate this? Why don't we just run a regular RPO? Like Mahomes can just run and he can make the decision himself if he needs to run it or throw it. And like that's what they did. And Kelsey made the plays when he needs to, like the same cast of characters. So like as many issues as the Chiefs have had with their personnel, and these are not the same guys they had in 2020. The same personnel guys made the big plays. It's the same characters: Chris Jones, Travis Kelsey, and Patrick Mahomes. They were the best players on the field. I would say the only other person that had the argument for being the best player on the field, McDuffie was excellent today. Excellent
Yeah.
today. He had one pass interference that wasn't whatever, but other than that, he was excellent. Um, and even Steve was pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I guess circling back and finishing up with the GOAT conversation. I don't know if we want to do a blind ranking now, but where does he work at this point? Because he's got three Super Bowls, three Super Bowl MVPs. He's got back to back. I mean, where
I
does
think
he
he's only
sit?
behind Brady at this point. And I know that
Okay.
sounds crazy because he's only been in the league. Well, he's only started 6 seasons, but I just think that's where he's at. I think he's done so much in a short period of time that I think he's kind of superseded some of these other players, the Steve Youngs, the Joe Montanas, the John Elways. I mean, if you look at his playoff accolades, he's already up there with these guys, period.
He's passed a lot of them guys, to be fair.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
passed a lot of them guys. He's
Yeah, he's
won a
got
regular season MVP, as you said, and the 3 Super Bowl MVPs. Like, even when he lost in the Super Bowl, we came away saying, damn, he might have been the best player in that game, period. And I'm
right.
talking about including Tom Brady. Yeah, his team lost, but he might have been the best player.
Yeah, the scariest part about Mahomes, and I've heard Nick Wright talk about this, doesn't really have like a glaring, like really, really bad postseason game ever. Like, I
Uh-uh.
mean, I think that second half of that Bengals game when they lost in Arrowhead, that was probably the thing you can point to. But other than that, like that's really it. He doesn't really have like any bad postseason games. Like, and I guess we'd have to see like if he plays bad in the postseason game, if like the defense carried him, maybe we'd feel differently. But he just seems to always make the plays when it mattered.
No, the
And I
only
don't.
thing I can say about Mahomes is, unfortunately, if he's not if he was in the NFC, this man might have 6 Super Bowls. But he's
Yeah,
in the
no, seriously.
AFC.
Yeah.
He's got to go against Miami. He's got to go against Buffalo. He's got to go against the Ravens. He's got to go against this up and coming team in Houston. Like he has some. Jacksonville is probably going to be better. I will hope. Like he has some competition out there. So like, I mean, I
It's
guess at this
tough.
point I'm not going to bet against him, but I'm just saying his road is tough.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going forward. It's all a year by year thing, right? Like I know the Chiefs are going to get better. People are like, well, if you don't beat them now, when you beat them, yeah, they're going to get some weapons and stuff like that. But that still doesn't guarantee you win. The NFL with injuries and like the margin for error, I mean, that still doesn't guarantee you anything. So when you
Can I
get
ask
here,
you a
you got to
question though?
finish it. Yeah.
So And now that the season's over with, and I guess we're going again to the knee jerk reaction, but I'm
Mhm.
still asking it anyway. How do you feel about Brock Purdy? I know he's been kind of a controversial topic for most of the season. You know, Cam Newton came out and said that he's just a what is it? What was his term? A game manager. But how do you feel about him after watching him in the Super Bowl and just in totality throughout this whole season?
Well, first of all, if we're getting a lot of our info from Cam Newton these days, respectfully, I mean,
Hey, no, we ain't not gonna do Cam like that, man. It's a legend.
he's a legend. I guess
Yeah, I didn't say
I
great. Well,
guess
he's a
we just throw
legend.
guess we just throw that word around nowadays. I don't use legend just to throw legend.
Well,
You know.
I'm taking into account his college career as well. What
Oh,
he
oh, yeah,
did.
yeah, 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 yeah. He's a football legend for sure, for sure. Not an
Yeah,
NFL
yeah,
legend.
no, no, no. I wasn't honestly it was not mean like NFL. I'm just talking about like football.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. He's a hood hero. I'm rocking with it.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this. Brock Purdy's the guy, and I'll tell you why. The questions we had about Brock Purdy, he, funny enough, answered it in the postseason. We were like, look, well, Brock Purdy has got all these weapons around him, and he's always playing with the lead. He played poorly in both of those playoff games versus Detroit and Green Bay, and he still found a way in both of those games to come back and win the game.
yep,
That should mean something. And then in the Super Bowl, he went toe to toe with Mahomes when like the pressure could have like really made him crumble. He didn't make a mistake. He didn't. I don't even remember any like. I don't remember more than maybe like one bad throw. Like he didn't have a throw where it's like. I think that one throw that almost got picked. It got tipped and it almost got picked. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like he
yeah.
didn't.
But it got tipped. Like you said, it wasn't even a bad. It was a great throw. Just unfortunate right there.
And then the thing that goes bad with Cam Newton's argument, and Brock Purdy's been doing this all year, to be fair. And here's what I can tell you: he did it last year because I'm a Dolphins fan, and his first career start was against the Dolphins. So I watched that game, and I was like, this kid. I was like, maybe I'm just tripping, but this kid looks like he's pretty good. His creation, if some of that stuff that the pressures were getting to, you know what would have happened if they would have had Jimmy G, right? It'd have been a wrap. You know what I'm saying? So like his creation, what was the throw in late in the game when he created and he threw that to McCaffrey, like that little swing pass? Like that's such a great play to avoid a sack and make that happen. I mean,
Dude, he
I think
saw the pressure coming from the right side. He turned over on his left shoulder and threw it right on target to McCaffrey. It wasn't like a 20-yard throw, but like you said, it was just great anticipation and great awareness on the field.
correct. And he's making those plays consistently. Now, do I think there's things that he can improve on? Absolutely. I mean, this is really only this guy's like what first full year starting. I mean, he started last year like a handful of games, but this is his first real year starting. So, like, yeah, there was a couple like veteran things he didn't do. Like, he missed some protections to pick up. He maybe left the pocket too early. But man, what he does, like, I mean, I hate to say it, if I was a Dolphins fan, like if you were just like in a
Yep.
bucket, I love Tua, but and I think Tua in a vacuum is probably more accurate. Like if you're just like just a more accurate quarter. But what Brock Purdy does with the creation is like, man, that's what the Dolphins was hoping like a Tua could be. Like you don't need to always run all over the place, but just to create a little bit, and it helps your team because the 49ers are an all-star team. And most of the time you don't have to create. The problem is it's the NFL. And sometimes you are gonna have to create when you play better competition. And he seems to make those plays on a consistent enough basis where I'm the 49ers, I feel really good. Here's where I don't feel really good if I'm the 49ers. How many times are we gonna get back to this point? Now, I will admit on Front Street, I was wrong. And the we did our NFL preview, and I said that the 49ers window was closed, that they wouldn't be go back to the Super Bowl. I was wrong. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but I was wrong. I didn't think they would even get back to this point. Now I'm not sure because then you got to pay guys. You got injuries. And look, you and I, we both love George Kittle and Debo Samuel, those guys, but they play such a physical style. How
That's
much
not
can
gonna
I rely
last.
on? Yeah, like how much can I rely on those guys to really be, you know, long term look at the hits George Kittle takes on a regular basis in the NFL. Look at the kids. Travis Kelsey doesn't take a lot of big hits, to be fair. He's kind of like getting his yards, getting down, doing his thing, like rumbling. Kittle is like meeting contact. Debo Samuel is like meeting contact. They're trying to punish you. That's what makes them great, but that's also makes them injury prone. We know Christian McCaffrey was injury prone before this season. I'm happy that he did stay healthy because he had an MVP like year, but he's also a running back. How much longer can that last too? I hope he's an anomaly, but that's the only problem. But I do think this: they are a rare team where they missed on their first round pick as a quarterback and they landed on another one. So they are lucky there. So I
Can
will say that.
I want to add one thing too though. Well, it's two things. One is funny because I know Adam Schefter earlier today, he put out a tweet where the 49ers, for one reason or another, they didn't even look into drafting Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's just one of the few quarterbacks that they didn't have
Yeah, I
any
don't even know
intel
why
on.
he put that out. That's messed
I
up.
don't either, but it's so funny to see how history could have changed on that dime. But my other point is, hey Nolan, when do we start asking these Kyle Shanahan questions? I know we had these questions before, but they're gonna rear their ugly head again. Like, can he get it done? Is he
But
untouched?
don't you feel like this is different than the other games? I didn't feel like he called a bad game.
I don't either, but the narrative is going to be they had a 10-point lead going into half. Or no, there was they had a lead going into half, whatever it was. I can't even remember what the score was now. And then they still end up losing the game.
I guess
That's what
my
the narrative is going to be.
I guess my question would be is, and we'll find out more in the coming days, and people are going to watch film that do this for a living and to probably give us insight. But what could he have done differently? Even I know he had the lead, but like it's not like the play calling was bad or anything like that. Like I'm not sure what he could have done differently. They had guys committing holding penalties, false starts, like they were starting drives in bad positions. They had a fumble on a special teams. You know what I mean? Like I really don't know at what point what he could have actually done. I mean,
The only thing I could think of, is like just off the top of my head, was be more aggressive on the play calling. But then, hell, he had Juwan Jennings throwing a touchdown. So, like, it's not to say that he wasn't aggressive as is. So, like, you would really be grasping for straws if he said that. You know what I mean?
he had Jawan Jennings throwing the touchdown. Don't forget, was it in the second quarter, I believe, maybe the third quarter, the pass that Purdy overthrew to Debo Samuel when he had that
Yeah.
guy in the streak? That's a touchdown, right? Like so. I mean, I feel like he's scheming guys up open. I guess I can be a little critical. Like, I mean, they didn't really get Kittle involved, and I think maybe that could have helped them. But like, I don't know what the Chiefs were doing on the other end. I'm
And it
assuming
kind
they
of
were
seems like
using.
they lost McCaffrey, like in that third quarter. Like they really weren't going to the running game. Like I
Well, the
did
problem
notice
is
that.
they did go to the running game, but they just kept stopping it. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like they kind of stopped the run at a certain point too. But like I know what you mean. Is there some situations where you could have split McCaffrey out and maybe like figured out a way to get him the ball? But like I
But
get
I mean,
at
like we're
that
grasping at straws when we're doing that. Like we're really trying to
yeah,
find stuff. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I know what you mean though. Some people are gonna look back and be like, yo, 0-2 in Super Bowls, and then really 0-3 when you include the Falcons one when you're in the offensive coordinator. And
Yeah.
that is what it is. I think part of it will be unfair, but it is a conversation to be had. But they not crazy. Like Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the NFL. You know what I mean? And they have such talent. I would be more concerned with the roster. You know what I mean? And like, first of all, the freak injury with Dre Greenlaw. That I mean, that sucks. You know what I mean?
That's
Like, what are
just
you
a
gonna do
freak
about that?
injury. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do about that? And they can shore up some stuff on that defense. I mean, look, I'm not even that high on Chase Young, and Chase Young played really well today for the most part, at least in the first half. So I mean, they have such a good roster. I think they actually have a quarterback now. I just think this is a part of it. I think there'll be a team that will be in the mix, and maybe they can get back here. But at some point, I know what you mean. It's hard to say how often are we going to get back here, and how many opportunities are we going to get because we're just like never finishing the deal. And then as opposed for the Chiefs, it seems like they almost are going to always be in the Super Bowl. I think it comes down to like because you have that guy. Mahomes kind of feels like, and I'll say this on the way out in your comparison to the NBA or to the NBA comparison. It feels like if you have when you remember when you have LeBron, you're like, yeah, we're going to the conference finals minimum. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like that's what Mahomes feels like when you have a guy like that. And typically, it's not always like that in football. You can have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get super far because you need the entire roster.
There was a
But
7 or 8 year straight stretch where Brady did not make a Super Bowl. Like people forget that.
and those are his best years of his career statistically for the most
That's
part.
the
So,
crazy part about it. Those were, like
hmm
you said, were the best years. Like I remember that when it was happening. And there's a
exactly.
stretch where he didn't make it any Mahomes series. He's been in 6 AFC championships, and this is his fourth Super Bowl. Come on now.
hmm Right. So, yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee in the sport. And I'm not going to say Mahomes is never going to lose or anything like that. Injuries happen. There's a lot of things that can change. However, what this guy can do and having him on your team, I mean, I guess I'm curious to see like whenever Kelsey hangs up in a couple years, we see that too. But I mean, he's probably just gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? Like he's probably just gonna figure it out. As great as Kelsey is, he's gonna figure it out because Tyreek Hill's great. And no one like looks at Tyreek Hill and be like he's not great. Like it was a great trade for the Dolphins as it was a great trade for them to use those picks to get guys like McDuffie and stuff too. So
How do you
yeah,
think Tyreek feels right now?
I mean, he's $30 million a year. I think he feels okay.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you gonna do? And you know why he may feel okay? he did get one of those Super Bowls.
He did. You're right about that.
It would feel differently if you ain't getting none of them and you just missed out on the dynasty. Like, yeah, you missed out on the whole 3 Super Bowls thing, but you got you one, and now you're the man in a situation, and you make it $30 million a year. So I mean, life is pretty good for the most part. But anyway, we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl a lot and the reaction to it. We wanted to hop on it and do a pod now for it. We got NBA trade deadline stuff, so everybody that listens to us on a regular, keep an eye out on for that. I know it was underwhelming, but we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, I was saying ain't a whole lot to say. I'm gonna be honest with you.
We'll talk. We got to at least talk about it. If we're gonna talk
We
about
do,
the
but I'm
NBA,
just saying it's not a lot.
yeah, don't expect much. Okay, I shouldn't say it like that. We're gonna talk about the NBA. How about that? We're gonna talk about the NBA. Like we may or may not get to the trade deadline, but we got a lot of stuff, coming out for everybody. But I want to thank everyone, of course, once again for joining us. We appreciate it wholeheartedly. Again, we're on Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Again, do us a favor. Give us a quick like, a quick rate, wherever you do listen to the podcast. It does help us a lot. And then, of course, interact with us on Instagram and social media. We're going to drop some of these reels, drop some polls for you guys. Keep it active as we were before. And then, of course, on the way out, I will swing it to Trey. And, on the way out, happy football season. Happy football season. As much as we talk about the Super Bowl, there is also going to be no football. So we got to at least acknowledge that too. But I'll swing it to you, Trey.
Yeah, so you would not hear us talk about football anymore until the draft.
Yeah. We're not talking about what the Cowboys are planning to do in the offseason.
Don't
not
care
talking about any of that. Like no, hold on. We may touch on the NFL draft now.
I said until the draft. That's why I said.
Oh, until the draft. Okay, I didn't hear you. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we don't care about nothing else. Like, leave me alone. but again, thank you for joining us, and I really do appreciate it. Like you say, interact with us. We really do take the time to look what you guys are saying, and we really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great week, and until next week, peace.